I'm pretty hard on the NFL, but I think they nailed it for the Sunday with the national anthem and the montage they put together. I thought they
It
nailed
was
it.
it was really good what the NFL did. What the Yankees and the Mets did. You know,
Yeah.
they brought back.
Oh,
Remember, the Yankees and the Mets 11 days after 9/11 brought sports and brought America back to a little normalcy. Remember, George Bush goes out and he says he can't.
sure.
They were like, "You want to throw from front of the mound?" He goes, "No, no. Right now, I have to go on that rubber, 60 feet 6 inches, and not only do I have to throw out the first pitch, I got to throw a strike." And if you remember, the president fired one in there, and held up. He was wearing the Fire Department of New York jacket when he did it, and held the arm up, and the crowd goes crazy, and then Piazza hits the home run and everything. It just,
Yeah.
it was an amazing sports day, and sports once again on Saturday. I think college did a good job with it and everything. On Saturday, I just thought that the way sports encompassed the tragedy of 9/11 and the 20th anniversary of 9/11, I thought that they handled it. And for once, there was, I didn't see all the national anthems, but the national anthem, I thought there was no kneeling or anything. It was not a day when anybody took a point to make a protest. They were like, "Look here, this is 9/11 weekend. We're not going to do any kind of social protesting or anything. We're all in this together." And I thought the NFL got it right, and you like I like you. I mean, I'm a little tough on the NFL right now with how they're doing things, but they got it right this weekend.
Yeah, it's amazing. There's been a lot of documented about that first pitch from George W. Bush, and it was a phenomenal moment in a life jacket and or a bulletproof vest. He got to throw a little bit before. He's got a history of baseball. His dad was a great baseball player. It's amazing that guy and the bravery and what he stood for on that mound. You fast forward 20 years later.
Don't start.
And now
don't
he's
start.
saying, man, I read that article and I'm like, no, it couldn't have been what he said. And then I heard his speech and I'm like, oh, that's exactly what he said. And, it's embarrassing. I don't know. I mean, it's hard to compare and Then I'll call it a riot. I have no problem calling it a riot. Who went into the Capitol building, and then people who took 3 planes and put them into buildings, to intentionally kill women and children.
How's it the same thing?
Come on, it's not even equitable in any way, shape, or form. But all of us, and again,
who approved the speech too? What speechwriter wrote that, and then who the hell approved that speech?
Well, and again, this is the same guy who said, the axis of evil, right? And put Iran right in the crosshairs of the United States and North Korea, and now. But again, when you look back through the history, through the beautiful lens of time of George W. Bush, you realize that's probably closer to what he said on Saturday is closer to who he truly is, because of the way what he did with our deficit. I don't know. It's shameful. That's all I could say about it. It's shameful.
And this is the same guy, by the way.
It's shameful.
This same guy who, and I got in a heated discussion with a very good friend of mine this weekend. Finally, I actually had to call him because we were texting back and forth. And, you can't really see the emotion in texting. And finally, I was like, I have to call. I have to call Marshall. We have to talk. And I called a very good friend of mine in Atlanta who is African-American. And I said, you see what the guy said. You served in the military. You see what the guy said, and you still support him. He's like, well, he's doing a lot for us and doing black. And I go, you do realize in 1994 or 1993, somewhere around there, he called you thugs and scumbags who should be put away for life if you were drug dealers, right? You remember that, right? Well, I don't think he said it exactly that. No, that's exactly what he said. When he was trying to pass this crime bill, the people he wants to vote for him now were thugs and drug dealers who never needed to see the light of day. But now this guy changes his colors more than a chameleon. I'm at a loss. I'm at a loss, Galen.
Yeah, again, but I'm glad you got to remember 9/11 It's interesting. My son wasn't even born during 9/11, my youngest, and he woke up and he goes, so what was your day like 9/11? And I was like, oh wow, that's a great question.
Yeah.
So, and so we got to talk about it, and we talked. He goes, did anybody in our family get impacted? Did you know anybody who died? I'm like, well, your uncle was in New York City when it happened. And they ended up getting a rental car and driving all the way back to Atlanta, Georgia.
Yeah.
They were just there for the weekend. And again, there's for the week. There's all kinds of stories like that. And I reread the story of the guy with the red bandana. Do you remember that?
Yes.
The guy who, and again, those are the kind of stories that you kind of forget about. The guy who says, let's roll in the airplane. And and Tristan went back and he goes, oh, Dad, did you hear about this story for the guy, for the firemen who were helping this lady down the stairs with a broken hip, and they were saved because of it? I was like,
yeah.
I said, there's all kinds of God moments.
They got trapped in the stairwell, and it happened to be the perfect stairwell that supported when it crushed and everything. Yeah.
And again, there's all of those stories, and I think it's important that we remember the heroism that took place today. And you fast forward 20 years later, when we're trying to take these people who put themselves in harm's way every day, and
we're trying to defund them and get rid of them.
And again, firemen died too. Firemen died, policemen died, and you look at those images now, and you still get that same emotion, right? You're somewhere between disbelief, a little pissed off, and you're like, it's just so emotional. Such an emotionally charged.
I will tell you
image.
this. I saw this last night. I was watching a special because I've DVR'd them. Here's a stat for you. We're talking sports. Here's a stat that will chill you. 21 battalion chiefs reported to the World Trade Center that morning. 21 battalion chiefs.
Yeah.
Only 4 survived.
Well, and do you remember?
And that's
the
battalion
aftermath
chiefs.
of 9/11?
That's battalion chiefs.
Absolutely. Those are guys who've been there for 20 plus
the
years.
chief of the fire department, the head of the fire department, the chief of police, like the chief of the fire department, right? He died going back into the World Trade Center. The chief of the entire fire department. And I don't think for a second our chief that we have now or the chief that was just recently let go, I don't think for a second either of those guys would bat an eye going back into a fire either.
No, absolutely not. It's in their DNA.
That's what they do. They go in when everybody else runs away.
That's right. That's right. And do you remember all the articles written afterwards, like 9/11? What is the New York Fire Department going to do now with all their leadership dead?
Yeah.
I remember reading that, and I'm like, man, those are the kinds of things you don't think about. And all of the equipment that New York City lost.
Yeah.
You remember they were having to donate. I remember locally E1 was just sending trucks up.
Certainly.
Just to replace all the hundreds of trucks that were lost.
The same special I was watching the one I was watching last night where the battalion chiefs died, the second in command, he the day after they're on the pile, he has a moment of silence for everybody, for their fallen comrades that they know are in the pile, but they can't, they'll find them, but they can't get to them. They're no longer with us. He says he has a moment of silence. Then he comes out of the silence. He looks at everybody and goes, let's go to work. And then he immediately got the chiefs that he still had with him and said, we have to rebuild where we're at. And they started rebuilding the officer structure and everything at that moment, right there at the pile, because it had to be done.
It's amazing. It's and I hope everybody in the country at least remembered that day and remember the massive sacrifice. And we were attacked.
100%.
I know history has for some reason now we've turned 9/11 into, what really came out of that is we attacked Islam.
It was Pearl Harbor. It was Pearl Harbor in 2001.
Absolutely. And I sit back now and I look at it and go, okay, not Not quite.
Not quite. Let's take a break. We'll be right back after this timeout. 1370 AM, 96.3 FM, WOCA, The Source.
Are you or your loved one being released from a hospital and wondering how you'll manage? Inform your physician that you want to go to Palm Garden of Ocala at 2700 Southwest 34th Street for your rehabilitation. Palm Garden provides pain management, post-discharge follow-up, diabetic care, psychosocial support, and so much more. Plus, they even offer outpatient rehab. This award-winning care facility has a team of licensed professionals dedicated to enhancing your independence. Call 352-854-6262 today.
Hi, this is JP from Penn Flooring here in Ocala. I would like to invite you to come in and visit our spacious showroom where we have solutions for every style and budget. From wall-to-wall carpet to hardwood floors and tiles, we have an unsurpassed selection of flooring. At Penn Flooring, we've provided quality customer service with a family touch for over 25 years. Visit our website at pennflooring.com or come by our showroom, 1201 Southwest 17th Street, just over the bridge. Penn Flooring, quality customer service with a family touch.
Are you wasting time boxing up packages and going to the post office or the UPS store? Are you tired of not knowing what you'll pay when you get there? Just Ship offers pickup service and flat rate packaging and postage rates, which takes the guesswork out of shipping while saving you time and money. So quit wasting valuable time and money. Call or text Just Ship at 352-234-3840. That's 352-234-3840. Just Shipped.
It's Monday. Not sure how you did it, but you actually survived an entire 2 days without hearing from Tom. Good job to you. And once again, good luck.
Welcome back to Ocala Talks on a Monday. Galen Unall joins us from Life South, as he does every week, brought to you by the good folks at Palm Garden Health and Rehabilitation Center, Penn Flooring, and Just Shipped. Galen, it was a weekend of remembrance. The wall was escorted on Friday. The traveling wall, the 9/11 wall, was escorted on Friday to the Veterans Memorial Park here and just off Fort King. If you have not went and saw the traveling wall, it's not ground zero, but it'll still bring chills to you. Have you seen the wall when it was here before, Galen?
I have. Yeah, I have.
Yeah,
Yep.
it's if you get a chance, it's free to go see it. I implore you to go. Just look at the names and just see the mass devastation that was caused because people didn't like the way we live our lives. That's what this boils down to. This isn't a religion.
Sure.
Everybody thinks it's Islam versus Christianity, and it's not. Okay? This is a group of people who Islam is their religion, but nuts and craziness is their thought process, and they just kill people because they don't like the way they live. It has nothing to do with religion. It has to do with we don't like the way you live, we kill you. That's what this is all about. Not religion. It's about killing people that don't do what you think should be done.
No, that's exactly right, Tom. And again, our way of life has always been under threat since this great experiment started in 1776. And in a lot of ways, we're now just being attacked by our own people for our own freedoms. We're losing more and more of our freedoms every single day.
We've turned against our own self.
Well, I don't know if it's gotten that bad yet, but I do know that there's a certain faction in this country that believes that we're too dumb to make our own choices. And that's the difference. Whereas before it's like, no, I just want power over you. Now they've kind of couched it and massaged that message to say, look, you're not smart enough. And they'll say things like, oh, well, you got to follow the science. You got to listen to the doctors. You got to, it's almost like you're a child and you have to listen to your parent because you're not intelligent enough to make your own mind and do what's best for you and yours.
Well, that's the reason that we have the two-party system in this country. There was a founding father who thought that the general population was too dumb to really ever vote properly or anything, and so he didn't want it done that way. He wanted the Congress to always be the person that voted president, do everything like that. He thought the regular rank and file were too dumb to understand. And that's why Alexander Hamilton, George Washington all created the Federalist Party and was in direct competition, in direct contradiction to him. And believe it or not, the guy who I'm talking about is Thomas Jefferson.
Absolutely.
Sure. And Thomas Jefferson created what? Oh, yeah, the Democratic Party.
Yeah, that's absolutely correct.
Thomas Jefferson thought the normal 9-to-5 guy, wasn't 9-to-5 then, but the normal farmer, out there just trying to do his best he could, was not smart enough to understand politics or freedoms or republic, and should not have the power to vote because they just weren't smart enough to be able to handle it. And he was wrong, by the way. He was wrong.
Yeah, he liked what did he call it? It was a representative government.
Yes.
Where they could vote for their local guy, but their local guy, was obviously the smart one of the
right.
group.
That's it exactly.
And that's and he would go, yeah, absolutely. But again, I mean, when you look around and my wife went to the grocery store, and she doesn't really. I mean, she works in the hospital and doesn't pay a lot of attention. She goes, "My God, you should have seen the cost of chicken." I was like, "Yeah, I've been telling you, inflation is terrible." She goes, "No. It's like twice as much as it was a year ago." I was like, "Wow," and it's true. I mean,
the price of what now? Chicken? Oh yeah, chicken.
Chicken.
Yeah. Look,
chicken, eggs, pork, anything to do with anything that you eat is just more expensive.
My wife and I, and there's only two of us, okay? So we eat out probably twice a week because of our schedules. So, we don't go through a lot of groceries. We buy groceries and they last us about 10 days, you know what I mean? And there's only two of us, so it's not a big expenditure. But our bill went from about $120 every time we went to the grocery store to about $200 every time we go to the grocery store now. And that's happened in the last year. So don't tell me. People say, "Oh, there's no such inflation." No. I'm spending more money now at the grocery store than I was a year ago, and you can't blame Donald Trump for that.
No, you can't. And again, it goes back to our workforce, and again, highest inflation. We have hostages in Afghanistan. If this doesn't remind you of the late '70s, you should wake up.
Wait, those aren't hostages, Galen. Those just are Americans that are there until we can find a viable way to get them out. They're not hostages.
Oh, they don't really want to come home, I guess. Yeah. And the Taliban, they're businesslike. Sure.
Yeah. They go into Army Navy surplus business is what they could go into.
Yeah, that's a fact. Not the Navy. Navy didn't leave a single
Army.
thing behind.
Yeah, the Army.
Let's be very clear about that.
Joe Biden left stuff behind, and
Yeah, he sure did. He sure did. So.
I just don't understand. I just don't understand. We went through 4 presidents, 20 years. Think about that. 4 presidents. Okay? Bush, Obama, Trump, and Biden. 4 years, 20 years, 4 presidents, so that in 2021 we could be exactly where we were in 2001. The Taliban are in control of Afghanistan, and terrorism is something we have to look over our shoulder again for now, even more than ever, just like we did in 2001.
Yeah, I just hope they leave us alone. That's all.
Here's the problem with that. We have a president who has no backbone.
Did you see they were all remember when they were all proud about they dropped an air drone strike against who they thought was the leader of the Taliban?
Yeah.
He ended up being an American.
Right.
And he killed him and his kids because he was going out to hug his son came out to him to help him bring stuff out of the car as he gave him a hug. Again, that's just kind of been swept under the rug. You can't just arbitrarily bomb people. And drone strikes. Oh, I hate them.
I don't understand where this, how we haven't learned, and sometimes I think they're too smart for their own good, because they tell you how smart they are, but they tell you how smart they are.
No.
It's sometimes you can overthink things and try to be too smart, and I think they're trying to be too smart.
Politicians are good at one thing: getting reelected.
That's all they're good
That's
at.
what they're good at. When you look at he was a great politician. Yeah, it's because he was there for a very, 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 very long time.
The last great politicians, I think, probably were in the 19th century. I'm going to be honest with you. Probably.
Well, they were statesmen.
Yeah.
You're probably
right.
thinking of them more as, and that's what every politician strives to be.
Yes.
Right?
No, they don't. If they did, we wouldn't be in the mess we're in. If they were there to be statesmen and stateswomen.
No. Let me. What they want to. I guess I should revise that. They want to be viewed as statesmen.
Thank you. Okay.
So if you've ever seen one of the eulogies for a fallen one, they always call him statesman.
Right. Yeah.
Oh, he was a great statesman.
Yeah.
That's all they care about is their legacy and getting reelected, and getting their pork, so they can get fat.
And so it looks like to their constituents, they're bringing money into their district when they're actually that money they're bringing into their district is going into their coffers. Hey, we got to take a break. We come back more with Galen Unall from Life South, 1370 AM.
Let's talk about some sports.
We are. We're talking about sports. Coming up next. Coming up next, all college football and pro football right here, 1370 AM, 96.3 FM, WOCA, The Source.
Broadcasting from the Ocala International Airport, this is WOCA AM, W242CA FM, Ocala, 1370 AM, 96.3 FM, The Source.